Joseph, it's been remarkably clean. You've been holding everybody's interest by the scruff of the neck as you're doing this. Let me see if I get this right. You've got two ways that you created story maps. The first way is using ArcGIS Online to create the application. So in this case, you don't have to store your application off-site. You're storing it on ArcGIS Online, and in this case, you're accessing pictures that are on a publicly accessible website. And in the second case, you have downloaded the template, modified the template, and posted that entire collection of files that come in that template. You posted that collection out on a publicly accessible website along with pictures and things, but not all of those pictures need to be at that specific website.
You got it. Correct on all counts. On a photo note, I'd also like to say that on this, some of these pictures I took, some of these pictures are actually from Wikipedia and a couple of other places. I really made a strong attempt to use exclusively Creative Commons or else my own photos. Wherever I got it from, if it was my own, I said it was my own. If it wasn't my own, I said, where did I get it from? So it's my own photo, but then I would indicate where it came from. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I actually, you don't have to do this, but see how all these photos are actually fitting into this little frame on the left side quite nicely? I actually downloaded every one of the photos and resized it and then put it on a on a publicly accessible website, okay? Because otherwise, you know how photos are. There are all kinds of crazy sizes, and in order for this to look nice and clean, I actually resized them all. For one thing is, some of these photos are quite large in size, and so again, you have to think about your end user and the web, the bandwidth that you're working with in schools and other universities and places like that, or wherever, right? So you need to think about that. You don't want to have each one of these little photos be a 4 meg photo, right? You want it to be, 50K or something. So that was another reason why I resized it for cleanness of look and also for it to draw quickly.
And Joseph, one question that I'll ask you about this, just because, wow, this looks like a lot of time that goes into creating one of these. Does every story map require hours and hours of work?
No. Well, two short stories. This one of Lost Detroit, I wanted students to read about history and geography of Detroit. And this one has 15 photos. And it was, an hour or two of work, maybe 2 or 3 hours, because it was back when I was kind of getting used to doing this. The one that I showed here, let me show you the one that I created actually this afternoon, West Rail Line, because I want to show you the final product. This one, truly, it took bandwidth that I had. It took about 20 minutes to upload all the photos. But the map, I already had the base map was already there. Yeah, I earlier digitized the West Rail Line, but I didn't even have to do that. So really, the mapping part is a 5-minute job, because it's a matter of saying, okay, new map, and then save as, and then publish to web application, select the story map, and then it says where are your photos, point to your photo archive. Done. Then, okay, yeah, you can add some text on each photo if you want, but if you don't even do that, it's the 20 minutes of uploading the photos, but really it's 5 minutes. I created a blog in the summer. It was called the 15-minute story map, and I wasn't lying. It really did take me 15 minutes to make that story map of my walk to the San Diego airport. So I guess in response to what you're saying, Charlie, it's kind of like anything in geotechnologies. You can spend a lot of time with any of these tools, and you can spend a little time. It really depends on your instructional goals.
And that's a really key point. I think often we want to start out leaping to the ultimate story map or the ultimate EMO project as our first thing. Starting with a small test project with few pictures, a few little bit of text items, and you discover, wow, once you get the concept, it actually is pretty quick because you really need to spend time learning the concept. And so, wow, this looks like the San Diego map. Go ahead and tell us about it.
This is the one that I created on, right after the Esri conference. It's one of the few airports you can actually walk to, and okay, I did get a little sweaty because I had my luggage with me, but, apologies to my fellow passengers. Anyway, my goal was to create a story map on the way to the airport. So this is the one that really did take me 15 minutes. I took, as you can see, 5 photos along the way. Nice harbor view. The actual creation I actually did in a very crowded United terminal waiting for the plane to board, but you can see I don't have that much text. I've got a couple of lines. Another thing to point out is what I was indicating earlier. The track for this thing came from a app on my phone, right? It's just a GPX file, and that just came from my phone that I saved as a GPX and started with an ArcGIS Online, blank base map and said, okay, add data from file. I added the GPX file, and then I said, publish to story map template. Here's my photos. Done.
Very cool. I see that Laura has identified a resource that is available on the website of our friends at Esri Canada. Laura, if you're on, are you able to talk about that?
Sure. I actually have not had an opportunity to do them myself, but if you go to esri.ca in your web browser and go to their resources tab and education resources, they have a lesson planner on there that's similar to ARC lessons, and you can type in the keyword story and you'll get some videos that they have about story maps, as well as 2 lessons that you can download that have instructions for the teacher and the student, the basic of storytelling and intro to story maps. And I did send them recently to a high school teacher that I was working with, and he worked through them, and it really helped him learn how to do story maps quickly. And so I just thought that it might be something worth mentioning to you guys if you want a lesson that's already packaged up about doing story maps.
Outstanding. And one of the things that I'll mention about story maps is that you'll find as you spend some time looking at them, some of them are more photo-centric, some of them are more map-centric, and you really need to understand what it is that you want to have the viewer experience here. It's really, as often is the case with good mapping activity, you really need to be thinking about the user before you dive into designing it. You want to think what it is that they've got in mind. Joseph, you've got like a really interesting one here.
Well, your notes just made me think of, a map-centric one is a tried and true, USGS land set of 100 landforms, and so I built this one based on that idea, where the students are actually looking at a set of landforms, oxbow lakes, marshes, the offset streams, eskers, karst, and so on. In this case, the adjustment that I did, as you can probably surmise, is that the base map is the USGS base map. It's not one of the standard base maps. So when I talk about what do you need to adjust, this is one line in the index.html document where you're saying what base map do you want, and I just indicated, I want the USGS base because I really want the students to look at all these wonderful depression contours in karst. So this is just another example, like Charlie was saying, of a map-centric one. And by the way, this particular story map it's got 5 questions with each of these landforms that are sitting out on ARC lessons.
Terrific. Well, we've had a whirlwind tour of 2 very powerful technologies, the Esri Maps for Office and Story Maps. The whole focus of this was to try to give people a little inspiration to engage these. You don't necessarily need to be teaching these things to people as here. You need to create them as your very first experience with GIS, but you can help them use some of the pre-existing content that is available. And people will say, wow, aren't these things pretty powerful? I didn't know that GIS could actually do this. I thought it was for propeller heads. That's the real magic of these technologies, is getting people to see that GIS is changing in terms of the way it was a few years ago. We've come to the end of our time.